Okay, go ahead.
Okay, meeting call to order. Okay. Roll call.
Yeah, still do. It's still a meeting.
Ms. Bovee?
Here.
Mr. Seer? Ms. Gombutz?
Here.
Mr. Grady?
Here.
Mr. Luddy? Mr. Uranaga?
Here.
Okay, great, thanks. Audience of citizens. I don't know if no one's on Zoom that I see, but okay.
Yes.
If you say your name and your address.
Jim Norton, Jim Norton, 36 Drive, Berlin, Connecticut. Going back and forth, talking about, and I've missed a couple meetings, but going back and forth, with my wife kind of filled me on things. I just want to make sure we're not losing perspective of what's going on here. When this first came out, it was supposed to be a community center, a full community center with taking over the senior center, and bringing in, for the community, right? And I think we're kind of, are we losing perspective of really how this was sold basically to us as taxpayers and citizens of this town? And now they're talking, well, why don't we just make this a Y? Truthfully, we don't need another Y. We have one in Berkeley, we have one in New Britain, you have one in Meriden, you have one in Plainville. Can you really sustain it, even though it's a nonprofit? If the town's gonna have to contribute anything, be it land, bonding, or anything like that, I think we have to kind of rethink of where we're going with this thing. And I thank you all for your time, because it is thankless, and I understand that. So I thank you all right now for doing this and devoting your time to doing this. But let's keep perspective here. What are we trying to really accomplish? Instead of scaling it down, is it going to be the new senior center and the new community center, or is it going to be a Y? If it's just a Y, then that's going to be a hard sell. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone?
I just, Phyllis Norton, 36 Steeple View Drive, Berlin, Connecticut. I just wanted to follow up on, I was in attendance last week, and I did share with the committee that I was listening to the Wheeler Regional YMCA in Plainville. I didn't want to leave you with the impression that I was in favor of a Y. We're going there because that's where we go. But we attended the meetings early on at the high school. We saw the architectural plans of the community center, senior center. It energized me. I'm sure it energized my husband and a lot of other people that sat in that audience. I thought that's where we're going. And as I walked out of the room last week, I was very disappointed being left with the feeling or with the impression that now we're going the YMCA. I support the YMCA concept, but we are definitely expecting a community center, senior center combination. And as I was, do go to the Y. I overheard actually just yesterday, some people in the exercise room were at the Plainville Y saying, "Yeah, I can't. Oh, but I guess we're gonna have to go to the senior center for the cafe." It made me think about transportation. And when this facility, whatever is gonna ever happen, I don't want to have a need to be transported from, being at the senior center, and then I have to go to the YMCA for my senior aerobics. I thought, and we thought, when the plan was first presented to us, this was one-stop shopping. Everything was going to be in one building, and that's only fair that everything is in one building. And again, I really left disillusioned last week. They were leaning toward the YMCA, and it's not that I'm anti-Y, but that's not what the original plan was, and I was very disappointed. So, thank you. Thank you.
You didn't think I was going to pass this.
Okay.
I made a little more. Tim Thurston, 100 Sawmill Drive. And I would kind of wish the other guys were here, because I really had to say, Mike, Tim, when we first looked at this whole thing, I wasn't sure about where it was going and everything else. And it's really nice, but I wish kind of Dave Seer was here, because I really would have said to him.
Both of them would like to have been here. Emergencies came up in the last half hour.
Hopefully you'll watch
So
hopefully you'll watch the court here.
yeah, no, I'm sure they will.
I wasn't sure what their motivation, the whole thing was, but it was great to see the last meeting, and actually all the meetings. You guys, all the questions you've been asking and everything else. You're here for the duration. You're here to put something together and show the town, and I really appreciate it. That's the first point.
The second point was, Phyllis, thank you very much, because last week, you put into perspective something I haven't said for a long time. I've been concentrating on the pool aspect of it because, for a few reasons, but I'm a senior citizen also. I even have my senior citizen thing from Tina Doyle here. And I went the other day at noontime to a bowling alley. I saw all these guys about my age, a little older than me, a little younger than me, all retired at noontime. I said, you know something? I'm this close. Okay, so I want to get away from the pool for 1 minute and just say the exact same thing. What we want is a community senior center. We want something that's going to be followed by everyone. Okay, YMCA, this is what I don't like about it. We speak first and then listen, and then we can't ask any questions. Because John Benigni, this basic thing was, we cater to the elderly, we cater to seniors. Okay? Our pool is 85 degrees, right? It's going to be 85 degrees. Okay. We need in this town a pool that's going to service, young kids, high school people, and elderly. Okay, and the drawings from the architect, he had 3 pools. We had the competitive pool, we had the therapy pool, and we had the other thing. I just don't want to see like a YMCA, we cut it down to 1 pool, it's 85 degrees, and it affects, this is a Berlin Community Senior Center. All right, like I said, I am really looking forward to the time where I can go at noontime on a Tuesday and take my little grandkids with me, take them swimming, and then possibly playing, working out with them, playing pickleball with them, and then put them in the daycare and doing something myself. So that's what hopefully we're all looking forward to. All right.
Thank you.
I got one other thing. All right, last week I mentioned, did any of you guys get a chance to look at the East Lyme Aquatic Center?
I have not.
Or anything? Please do. I think it's kind of like what I'm looking at. It's a competitive pool, it's a therapy pool, and then it's a splash pad for the little guys. Here again, you're getting intergenerational people together. So give them a look over if you get a chance, okay?
We did as a committee, just on that note, visited Newtown. Newtown has the same 3 pools, including the splash pool.
Newtown they don't have a competitive pool.
It's not the, right,
Because they have
it
it
is a
in high
lap
school.
pool, but it's not the competitive pool, doesn't have the diving.
Yeah,
That's
Because Newtown High
correct.
School has
That's right,
their
But-
own pool.
except for the diving,
Yeah.
and it's 6 lanes. They would have put in 8, but cost. But you're right, it's not a competitive pool, but they do have the 3 pools so at least we've had some
Yeah.
inkling on, what that can entail, so.
Just, again, Jim, Tim makes a good point, and it's all about the community, and it's not only about the seniors, it's everybody, right? But coming up, you'll see the next month and a half, 2 months, the golf course turns into the senior center, and it really does. I mean, it does. And when these guys they 9 guys, when they all want to play cards, right? And they socialize, and it's important. And really, it's important for the town. I see Mike laugh.Ike, it's true. It is
true, yeah.
You go there,
No, I'm laughing because I totally believe you. I know exactly what you're talking about.
A cup of coffee, right? Your dish or whatever, your bake, whatever you're gonna do. And they sit there and they play your 9 holes, baby. Otherwise, they're just gonna play cards up there and they solve all the world politics. And it's all done, right? But they need a place to socialize and meet and hang out. And that's an important part of this thing. I think we keep missing this thing by refocusing on the why. No, it's not only that. It's a community center. It's a senior center, and it's the next thing you have to think about too. And nobody's even. It's a drop in, and nobody's even talking about that. a drop-in for the kids. I mean, growing up, you know, what are the kids gonna do? Why spend money? It's like, stop, you know, you have the kids that can hang out there. If you do it the right way, listen, you keep the kids off the streets on a Friday night, Saturday night. You know, it's a home run. It is, it's a home run. It's a place where the kids can go and can congregate. It'll be safe, it'll be overseen. This is, I mean, it's the vision that you guys gotta look for and long term and not just short term, you know, dollars and cents right now, but it's long term. Where are you gonna be and what do you want for the kids and the youth of the town? And it's again, it's for everybody. And that's, you know, multi-generational, you hit the nail on the head. And if you like to look at the pool, go to the Y Plainville. It's 5 miles down the road. They have a splash pool. They have the 4 lanes in there. And you know what? And it's full. It's full. So that's all I'm not said.
Tim, just
Okay,
make one more point.
Okay,
We also, we have to look at this as like a 50 to 100-year plan. When all the studies have been done and everything else over the last 30 years, you know, one thing that's come up is this is a 50-year plan. This is not like a sports team that's going to get a new stadium next year or 10 years down the road. This is something that's going to be with this town for at least 50 years. So when you're considering the cost, et cetera, consider that.
Dan Thurston, 16 Conway Way.
Mike, can you hear Dan?
Sorry. Sorry,
Okay,
Mike. I just saw Jameson over at the school. He says hi.
Great. Thank you so much.
He was walking around and I was walking in. I'm not gonna say a lot. This committee's been fantastic. It's been great to hear what we're up to. 2 quick things. Wasn't planning on talking about the drop-in, but I was actually in the upbeat room at the high school last week, and the new director, she was talking about this project and how originally the upbeat drop-ins, you go back historically, they were at the high school for a time. They were at the YMCA for a time. It was supposed to be a place where they could come in and use the gyms and use the pool and things like that. And when she heard more and more about some of the things the committee's been looking at and talking about, she was like, this is exactly what we need for the kids on a night, on a weekend night, on a Friday night. So she was talking about that last week. And then the second thing, I know we've been talking about the pools. This past Tuesday, they announced that all of the state championship competitions are at the same exact pool, Cornerstone Aquatic Center in West Hartford, because it was the only pool with 8 or more lanes that was willing to host. So every single state championship meet, along with all of the fees that the CIAC is paying the facility, and all of the fees that the schools are paying to go into those facilities, are going to Cornerstone Aquatic Center in West Hartford. I'm not
because
saying
they have an 8-lane pool.
they have an 8-lane pool.
Yeah.
Actually, they have an 11-lane pool, plus a 6-lane pool. Personally, you don't need an 11-lane pool. My point is, you know, there's a space for that and a demand for that in this area, and have something like that. Post to state finals meet, you have to have an 8-lane pool. The trials they'll let you have it in 6, for the finals you have to have an 8-lane pool, and there is a demand for that.
Could I just ask a question regarding, do you know if West Hartford is being paid by the CIAC to use those pools for the state championship?
Oh, I'm sure they are.
I'm sorry?
I'm sure they
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
And
In the past.
Is there a way to find out how much? I'm just curious.
Well, I'm sure you put in a call to the CIAC office, they can probably tell you. I know in the past they've used.
Yeah, CIAC usually pays every town that they use, because they pay us for baseball games and softball games, so.
In the past they've used Wesleyan, Wesleyan's around there under construction, as their pool under construction, they paid Southern SCSU for their pool. Along with
Okay.
other post pools for the trials. Yeah.
I'm trying to find out how much. Yeah, Barbara, did
I have
you?
a question for the Thurstons. If we're talking about this competitive pool, will there be the capability for a student that's a diver? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Cornerstone, I know, has 2 diving boards on one side of the pool.
My wife did say to mention. You know, right now, the rules are, I believe, 12 feet in order to have a diving board. But that could change next year. So think about that. Think about if we're constructing a competitive pool, make it a foot, you know, below, make it 13 feet, make it 14 feet. So now they have to buy different diving boards. Yeah, buy old diving boards for a pool that was recently renovated because the pool was only 12 feet. And it should be 11 feet.
Yeah, Jan mentioned that too a couple meetings ago.
Yep.
No,
Ms. Vice Chairman, may I make a comment based on some of the things that audience and citizens were talking about?
He's asking you if he can make a comment.
Oh, okay. Can everybody hear me okay, or?
Yes, yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
beautiful. First of all, I wanted to say thanks to the Nortons and the Thurstons for coming out. You guys have been to just about every single meeting, if not every meeting, and I really appreciate your dedication to this project. I want you to know that as much as we've been pouring a lot of effort into going places and trying to find out what the best fit is for Berlin, I think you guys coming to as many meetings as you can shows the real dedication and how important this is to you. And I can tell you, it's certainly not lost on me, and I don't think it's lost on anybody on the committee. I just wanted to, as a member of town council as well, just to kind of make sure that you guys understand that it may seem like people are leaning towards why. I think a lot of what the schedule is right now kind of seems that way. We did a lot of our trips out to the community centers / senior centers we tried to go as many as we can that would share senior centers and community centers together, and then also went to some community centers. Those trips just happened to be in the beginning. And a lot of the later trips we did were to the YMCA in Meriden. And then we had Mr. Benigni in to give a presentation on the why last week. So I think it may kind of seem that we may be leaning to why. Obviously, you may be talking to other people in the community. And so I can't really make any, say anything towards that. But really, I think what we were just trying to do is to get all the information in as much as possible. And then once these next few meetings will be important for our committee, because we are just going to formulate and come up with what we think is going to be the best plan for Berlin, and then present it to town council to say this is probably the best that we can go. So these next few meetings will kind of tell you the way that at least the committee is trying to put things together, and your input is extremely valuable. At least for me, it is, because one of the things I always like to do is to make sure that I'm listening to what the community wants in projects, in whatever we're trying to do. So I don't want you thinking that we've made up our mind and we're going to go one specific way. And B, also, even when we do put that project together and present it to town council and say, this is what we think is going to be best for the town, there's still going to be plenty of time to be able to deliberate exactly what we have to do, because at that point, we do have to come up with another conceptual plan. So we're, and then it has to go through planning, or not planning and zoning, but the PBC. So there's a lot of different things that have to happen before any of this really kind of gets into the plan to where we can put it together to go to referendum for the people in the town. So there's still plenty of time to be able to have those to have those talks and negotiations. And you guys have been here throughout the whole thing, and I hope you continue to do that and gather as many people as you can to be able to let us know what the community is thinking, because these next few meetings we'll be having, we're likely going to be able to put a lot of that stuff together. So again, thanks for coming. I appreciate that. And just want to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at doing here in the next few meetings, at least for us, for sure.
Tim, any questions from the audience?
No, I think we're good.
We're good,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, and just to follow Mike's comments. So the advisory committee's role is to present the facts based on the options that we're reviewing. We won't take a position on those. That's really up to the council to weigh the pros and cons of each of, or all of the options that are presented. And at least at the last couple of meetings ago in this room, the mayor was here and we talked about, the mayor's thought is that when we give our report to the town council, it would be a report could be made to the town council and the public at the same meeting, just because timing is important. There's a tight schedule for them in order, if they do bring it to a referendum in November, there's a tight schedule. So that might be sometime in April. There was still to be determined type of thing, but that's, that's what we'll be presenting is the factual data. And, we're not supposed to take a position either way, until we finish our work as part of the advisory group, so. Okay, with that approval of minutes, can I have a motion to accept the approval of minutes?
Motion to accept approval of minutes.
Second.
Barbara seconded. Any discussion, comments? The only thing is, and we've already noted the change, it's the fourth page. It's when John Benigni was talking about trying to get a 16 million budget to exactly zero as a challenge. So it says 60 million and it says 60 million in the sentence before. It's already noted. And so that change will go to 16 million. So the motion will be with that change. Okay. Okay, all in favor to adopt the minutes with that change? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, review and organization of information to include in presentation. With Dave and Brendan out, and Brendan and I went back and forth on the text. What we think is best for tonight is Dave had spent a lot of time, passed out a package. He's not here tonight. So whenever our next meeting is, though, we ask that you go through that, mark it up, bring your comments back, and we'll go through that package. And then there are some other handouts that we can do that Brendan, Mike, this is in your packet, in your mailbox. Mike knew he was going to be on Zoom, so we gave it to him, but he's at work, I think, right now.
Thank you much.
So when we present to the town council,
We already have them.
it'd be,
We got them.
yeah, no, this is like just a kind of a PowerPoint. This is just the start of a PowerPoint. So the thought being that
Yeah, I
there'd be the
started one, too.
PowerPoint and then there'd be all the detail behind it as an appendix. Like Dave's presentation, it's a Word document, that would be added to, that would be all the detail and bring up a lot of the key information that he has, none of which is indicated in here. This was just a PowerPoint.
And I didn't bring it tonight because I didn't finish, but I did start putting Dave's information into a PowerPoint presentation. I took some of his wording and simplified it a little bit and made it bullet points and everything. I hope to continue to do that. That way you guys can kind of have a visual of what a presentation can look like.
Okay, and so what Brendan and I had worked on was, a table of contents. This would be something that the PowerPoint would be something that would be presented to the town council and to the public possibly, so that it's quick. No one's going to sit for an hour and a half and go through detail. But right behind it is the detail. When questions are raised or whatever, if it's not in the PowerPoint, you have it in the detail. So kind of an executive summary, but a way to present it to groups. This was just a rough draft of table of contents that would be included. And of course, the why we hadn't talked about at that point in time. So those are kind of X's, but develop pros and cons for each of the options to consider. Town funded, why? And then town funded, we have the architects. So, what are changes that this group, after seeing other places, might recommend to the conceptual design? And then any changes that we think should be passed back to the council that refer to the current statement of needs, which has to go from council back to the commissions, back to council, and then back to wherever. So if there's changes to the statement of needs that we think, and again, that's just, it's just thoughts that we have after seeing all these visits and everything, those things would be just noted. Obviously, cost to build, going to be a wide range given current net operating impact, including potential savings, both in capital and operating, mill rate impact, funding options other than Berlin property taxes, other considerations. Maybe there's another bullet like all the financial details, the current debt, you know, where we rank, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's just a thought, again, just, and Jen, so you have something, maybe you could pass it to Brenda and myself too, and so, you know, it's a combined.
Yeah, I
whatever.
just, like I said, I'm only on the third slide. I'm working on getting more information, working on putting Dave's stuff in the PowerPoint. So by next meeting, I'll definitely have it.
Okay.
Just a rough draft
Yeah.
kind of thing, yeah.
Okay, again, just more information.
Yeah.
The other packet, actually Jen has this already, is, just a packet of information from our notes from before. And again, there are lots of notes. So I took the time to go through, you know, this is the operating cost. Dave had this obviously in his detail. This is what Kevin presented to us, you know, to think about a template, gave us a senior Parks and Rec Community Center budget, current. And then behind it, and I'm sure Dave's familiar, this is all the detailed budget items, which tie to Brendan's numbers. The key that we have to all realize and go through is that the detailed costs, like in Parks and Rec, if you look, it includes lifeguard and pool workers. But it doesn't include facilities that work on the pools or wherever else. So there are other even costs to consider. And so one of the things, we don't have to decide this tonight, but and Jen's working on an operating budget, but we all have to kind of work and go through the details of every piece of this, just to make sure we're not tripping over ourselves and using same numbers, being costs, savings, what have you. And Kevin is a real key in this, you know. He helped me, quite frankly, when we were going through this from Parks and Rec Commission, kind of figure it out. When we were looking at our statement of need and other things that we were looking at. Utilities, for instance, that's not in the Parks and Rec budget for the community center. It's not in the senior center budget, but those are really costs that those entities, those facilities incur. So with Jen's help, she went through, we got all the bills. We actually have a detailed list, which you have now. Savings, and you know, just think about those savings, right? Those are real savings. If that senior center is closed and it goes to a new senior center, you have to consider what are the new utility costs, and the town is not going to continue to incur their current costs in the senior center, because that will go to, you know, the housing authority or whatever. So
And just so you know, QA&M is helping me put together complete ballpark figures of what the 70,000 square foot facility would cost in electricity, heating and cooling too. We're just waiting to hear back from Newtown, but they had a fire in their building, so he's been a little preoccupied. And it was arson, so.
it's good.
Yeah. So once he sends me though, he's gonna send me copies of his electric bills, and then Tom Arcari said they can work with that to come up with what it would cost for our electricity, heating and cooling for our building. So, and also don't forget that you didn't include in your front page, or Kevin didn't, and I probably should remind him, but it is in this part, social and youth services. Right now,
Right.
in the conceptual plan, social and youth services is also there, so also
Right.
keep in mind that that budget's gonna be included too.
Swim team costs, the AD provided us with swim team costs, that's in this packet. Right now, it's the incremental savings would only be transportation costs. There are no fees charged by the Meriden Y for the use of the pools, no fees by the Meriden schools, and no fees by the Plainville Y that we know of. So, so those costs are there. The other thing that's in there is a pool cost summary in that packet that you have. That is the cost for our 2 outdoor pools, which we run in the summertime for part of the summer. It provides you the dates that the pools were open last summer, the number of days they were open. So Percival, 57 days out of the summer, 48 at the the more addenda Bittner pool, the Hubbard pool. The pre-pandemic visits to the pool, how many people attended? And then during 2021, what were the number of visits to the pool? Gallons of water, neither one is ADA compliant. The revenue that we took in for pool passes, we did not show on here swim, although we do have it. Swim classes, there is a fee charged for
No, there's
those.
not. No, there's not.
The thinking is those wouldn't go away.
There's no fee for swim lessons. Swim lessons
I'm
are
sorry?
included. Swim lessons are included in the pool pass. If you buy the pool pass, swim lessons do not cost you anything. So there's no fee for swim lessons.
Okay, so you have to buy the pool pass.
In order
for
to
it.
get free swim lessons.
Okay.
yes.
There was another detail sheet, thank you, okay. Pandemic pool pass revenue. So pre-pandemic, it's about 29,000 that we take in. And the total costs, these are costs that will be eliminated, not the total costs. There's actually probably about maybe $10,000 more in costs for staff that are used, but those staff would not be eliminated from public grounds if we were to close down any one of these outdoor pools because we're adding a pool in the community center. You know, so these are incremental costs. These are actual savings. Kevin's been involved in gathering this data as well. So that's all detailed here. When you come down to it, what's circled is the town subsidy for the two pools. It's 185,000. A little bit more because if you consider the staff, but again, this is just incremental costs and for two pools for 57 days. The capital costs that are in the placeholders, you saw some of them from Kevin's pool building. There's 750. These are to make, they're placeholders to make them ADA compliant. So those, obviously you went, if the town decided to close one of the outdoor pools, because now they have this other pool, you wouldn't have to spend the capital to make it ADA compliant. So all those will go into this thing. The other key is there is a cost to abandon a pool. So you close a pool, you gotta get rid of it, blah, blah, blah. And that would be a reduction of any savings. That would actually be an extra cost that you have to consider if you were to close a pool. There's some other information there, but this is just in the event that people were ever to think they want to close a pool that we currently have. That's in that packet. The other part of that packet is Newtown. And again, we have various information from a lot of towns. Newtown had the most concise information because it had their budget. The top sheet was their current, when we visited their current monthly operating budget. But this next packet that's there has the membership rates. And I took the liberty and penned in what those annualized costs would be. They, like the Y, only charge monthly fees, but what they would be for the different categories on an annual basis that they charge. They don't have a workout facility because there's a private workout facility next door, but all their detailed budget for their senior center and for their community center are all there, including costs that are allocated to them by the town. So Jen has this information. They have positions, the lifeguard positions, the director of aquatics, the overall management, and it's just a good way. It's a 50,000 square foot facility. Might be something, you know, that Jen can consider, or we can consider as we go through and understand operating costs. This is where, if you remember when we visited Newtown, Newtown does receive $1 million a year to offset their operating expenses from GE. Unique, obviously very unique. Take out that $1 million. Look at their operating costs and their operating income, including the membership fees and some other revenue that they receive. And you'll see that in the 2022 budget, the town subsidizes $400,000 for the full year. That's what a net cost to the town for their community and senior center 50,000 square foot facility.
I'm sorry, Donna, I didn't hear.
And that's all in here.
How much was it?
400,000, okay? I said, you know what, hold on a minute. I said 400, it might be 600,
I think it's
anyway.
600.
Yeah,
I
you
should have
said
put
6 in the past.
600,000,
Yeah.
yeah, 600,000, that's the number. And it's all here, and it has all the positions that they operate with, so again, we have that for every town. That's, that's a good source of information for us to look at, and if anybody needs the other towns, I have copies, I'm sure we all do anyway in our packets, but just again, something to put together as we go through it and we look at other detail when we get. That's that packet.
I have mine when you're done.
Okay, and then the last item that we had is just a follow-up to John Benigni's presentation last week. You can see we sent it to, I sent it, Brendan's on it.
I'll scan it and wait, I can put it in the
These are the
minutes.
extra questions. I don't know if other people did, but I had an opportunity to look at their financials that he gave us the online link to, which they really are tax returns. The audited financials were not on there. And so just 2019 was the last year that's on there. He'll provide 2020 when he gets to answer this other information. But their revenue was, 14.7 million. They had a $100,000 loss in 2019. They have a $10 million fund balance on their balance sheet, which is mainly property. The value, the book value of their property after depreciation. And they have a $1.2 million endowment that is in two pieces, $100,000 that they use to kind of support operating. And then they do have a separate $1 million endowment on the side. The revenue of 14.7 is broken into $5 million of grants that they get from government and private. I don't have the detail. That's one of the questions we asked them for. $7 million in program fees. As everybody knows, you join, you have a membership, and you pay for a program. If you want to do water aerobics, in other words, it'd be a program fee. That's 7 million, 1.5 million in membership, and then they rent out the facility, and that was 800,000. So that's the 14.7. Actually, it was pretty good information. What I saw is they either make 60,000 or they lose 100. That's cash basis, that's taxes. When he gives us the audited financials, there'll be a slight difference because of accrual-based accounting. Kathy Abercrombie and Rick Lopes are on their board of directors. And 2016 was a good year in terms of grants. They actually got $3 million more, probably a total of $7.5 million in grants that year, which allowed for them to make some money. So, but otherwise it's about 100,000 plus or minus each year. Again, just food for thought as they go through. If we were ever to, work with the Y going down. So you see the questions that we raised, and we asked that the group, if you have other questions for John, would like to be able to send it to him and give it. So again, bring those to the next meeting. That's the one additional question. As I was going through membership fees, as I always review it, is the joiner fee just a one-time fee or is it an annual assessment? I'm not sure, wasn't clear in the document, so. And then behind that letter is the Meriden Y fees, which are their card fees, just so you have those. And then behind that is New Britain, what they call New Britain Berlin Y, but it's a New Britain Y. And you have those. So, for instance, senior household, 62 years and older in Meriden, that would include 2 seniors and any dependents that might be living there. It's $54 a month. And as John said, it's month to month. You can pay annually, but it's a month to month. And that'd be $648. In New Britain, it's $504 and it's 65 or older. Single parent household, 1 adult person and their dependent children, 57 a month, Meriden 684, New Britain 636. Military, they give great discounts and rightly so for the military. And you know, there's youth charges, but it's all here, you know, it just adds the information. London, you know, he said they're slightly different and yeah, within 100, 150 of each other, so. So we have that. In Dave Sears' package, he has a good schedule listing out all the places that we met, and we gotta just fill in all the membership fees in that schedule, so that's why I presented that for the Y, Newtown's in there. And that's that. So those were the things that were follow-ups. But again, if you have additional questions for John, if you could put them in one email, we can send them to a follow-up, okay?
So I had two handouts on the table when you guys came in. I don't know if you all grabbed them. You guys had asked for attendance for community center and senior center, so that's what that is. If you have any questions, let me know. We went back to 2017 just because the last 2 years have been so pandemic and numbers were fudged. So we wanted to really give a solid number, so.
I have a quick question on it, on the senior center statistics. You have, the second column and the third column are broken down by years. What's the differentiation between those 27?
So
Is,
in 2017, in the first box where it says 441,
yeah,
that counts, Barbara went to the senior center on Monday at 10 o'clock for a program. But the second column in 2017 said Barbara went to the senior center at 10 o'clock, and then she went back the same day at 2 o'clock. So it counts the number of visits.
And she might have done that 5 days for a
Right.
total of 10.
Right.
so
And,
that
yeah.
would be 441 different seniors visited that year.
Not necessarily different, just
Number of
if you
visits.
had 10 on one day and 5 on Tuesday, then you had 15, but Barbara could be twice in those 15 because she came each day. So it's not necessarily different seniors, it's different.
Number of visits.
Programs.
Well, you had to have more than 441 visits in 2017.
We did, we had 12,000.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what's the differentiation between the 441?
So the 441 is if Barbara came once a day for 5 days. And I went once a day for 5 days, so that would be 2, even though it would count for 10 visits. Makes sense? So I go,
So Barbara went 441 times in 1 year.
she couldn't, because there's only 365 days.
But
That's
she
what I'm
went
saying.
twice
So,
a
so
day.
Barbara went 200 times and I went 221,
Okay,
right? Or I went
You're saying-
100, you went 100, Donna went 141.
So you're saying there's 441 unique people that went, but there are 12,000 visits, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's unique people.
Right, exactly.
It's
okay.
unique people.
The 441 is, I don't know how to,
See, the way, if 12,998 total visits in 2017, and if I just divide that by 441,
yeah,
whatever that means, I don't know what, it comes out to 29 and a half. So what's the 29? Like,
I have
because
no
they're
idea.
related, right?
No, they're not related.
Well, then,
So
so is it 441 individual people?
individual people, yes, not necessarily individual different people.
Okay, got you now.
Is that, okay,
I got you now.
okay.
But-
Right, Barbara? Am I clarifying?
So
Okay,
it could have been a total of 200 people made up the 441.
correct,
Okay,
correct. They're not unique, right,
But, so if Barbara goes twice a week,
on different days.
different days, you go, right? Twice a week?
She's counted twice in that week in that 441.
This is per week?
No, this is per year.
Per year, so
2017.
she's 2 times, just say if she went every, 52 weeks, that'd be 104 for her.
Correct,
so,
But you're
so,
saying only 441. That's
so
4
if she went
people
twice in one
equivalent to
day,
Barbara.
that's one.
I'm sorry?
If she went, so in other words, if she went 2 or 3 times in one day,
It
that would
only-
be one of the one. of
one on the top
441.
half, but on the
But-
bottom half, the extra. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And it's, okay, but just, so Barbara goes twice a week, that's 104.
Pull up Victoria's,
Visits.
you know.
Is she 1 out of 441? which would make sense.
I think so.
Okay, that's individuals,
I'm pulling up the report.
regardless of how many times, that would be individuals.
If she goes 5 times in one
It
day,
has to be individuals.
If she goes 5 times in one day, it's
one visit on the
No.
441,
right.
Right,
but it's 5 visits on the 12,990.
Yes.
Yes.
we know seniors go more than once a week. For the most part, they go more than once a week. So if the average senior is like Barbara, and they go twice a week, that would mean that's 220 people that go twice a week, meaning making 441.
Victoria ran the report and I'm reading her email. 441 people participated in our programs.
441 people.
Right, participated in our program. So yes, I'm sorry, I was explaining it.
So
poorly.
it's.
So unique
I don't
people.
know, I don't know this software. I asked Victoria to pull the report and
Well,
that's, I'm just not explaining it well. 441 people participated in the programs. But
So
the
that's good.
visits on the bottom is if
Right.
Barbara went 3 times a day, counts as 3
Right,
visits.
that makes sense.
Okay,
So
I'll reword.
Barbara would be 1 out of the 441.
Yeah, I'll reword it to participated in the programs
Well,
and give Alina the correct document
and
for the
what's, and
minutes
the 1,084 is the number of seniors that,
that are currently registered as seniors.
right, like I'm registered in the senior
So
center
you
now,
are included in that.
but I know
1,084.
I'm not in the, even in the 491. I didn't go last year because of COVID, so I get, 491. I'm not one of those 491.
Not if you didn't go and swipe your card for a program. Yes, Barbara.
So it makes sense to be 500, about 500, okay.
Our numbers are reduced down too during COVID because we do not have the lunch program,
Correct.
which also adds to the number.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the 220 and 21 numbers, I mean, 220, we were closed from
Yes.
almost the whole year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
March to, I think, March to the end of the
We're only just
year.
Bringing back
Yeah.
programs, yeah.
They're open Monday to Friday.
8:30 to 4.
What's surprising in 2021,
So that's
It
about
went up
50
to
people a day visit
491.
the senior center.
What's that?
What's that?
That's about 50 people a day use the senior center.
Yeah, I mean, mathematically, yes, you could do
Yeah.
it that way, but like
On
today, we
average
had
for the year.
today we had way more than 50 because we had bingo in there and, Friday afternoons, there's nobody.
Yeah.
So,
so Dave, or I'm sorry, Tim, tell me how you got the 50, just out of curiosity.
Well, it's open 265 days. And you have 12,998 visits.
Okay, number of visits.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, minus holidays and
They visited
Yeah.
the center.
it's a rough,
Okay.
it's a rough number, but yeah,
I rounded up, so.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Should be.
gives us an idea.
But the growth in 2021 that's pretty good. Because 2021, we were down because of COVID too. You didn't have a lunch program
No, we didn't
either.
have the lunch program.
During
We didn't have a lot of
COVID,
programs.
Tina was phenomenal at reaching out to seniors
Yeah,
with her drive-through programs and even when we started doing vaccine clinics and booster clinics. She was phenomenal at actually recruiting people that were not registered at the senior center, so.
Yeah.
And then community senior, sorry, Debbie's much better at spreadsheets than I am, so Debbie created this one, it's more detailed. I'm sure you can understand it.
I think we have to look at it this way too. The number of people coming and going from the senior center on a daily basis. And this is without the lunch program, without some of the programs that we're just now getting into. We have more people coming and going from the senior center than we do from the town hall. So that, there's a lot of people coming and going and using the facility.
so Jen, just in the community center, if you go to 20. Just go to 2020, for the exercise room. So in January, we had 853 visits for the month of January.
Yep.
And that's open 6 days?
That's open the community center hours. So
Just 6 days?
6 days,
Including Saturday. yeah.
except July and August, Saturdays were not open.
Right. So if you just take January, that would be like 30, 35 people a day. Think that many? I'm surprised that many.
Like I said, Saturday and Friday, you don't get as many as you get Monday, Thursday. I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
During the course
It's
of
a
an
small
8-hour
room.
day, that's only a few people an hour. It's not,
It's a small.
yeah, I mean,
small
I
room.
watched,
Yeah.
I mean, I watched the camera today and it's constant. It's very rare when there's nobody in there.
Yeah. But that's how you gotta do, it. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Is there any other information anybody else wants? to
I
bring
would
up?
I would just suggest everyone email me availability for the next 2 weeks, whether it's, I mean, I don't know if you saw the last
I'm
email.
always available.
I don't know if you saw the last email I sent to Brendan when he had suggested postponing tonight's meeting to next week. Monday night is economic development, which Dave is the chair of. Tuesday, I think it's council or a joint meeting, but Brendan can't make it. Wednesday, you have a budget meeting. Thursday, Donna and I have Parks and Rec, so, then Donna had mentioned during the day, so I know everyone in this room during the day is fine. Mike, during the day, yes, no, yay, nay?
Yeah, it kind of depends on which day, but I'm usually pretty good up until about 3 p.m.
Okay, and Brendan said he will check his schedule tomorrow. I'll email Brendan tomorrow, ask him to ask Dave about his schedule as well. So maybe during the weekday next week, we can do something, but
I just ask if you can avoid like early mornings. That would be great.
that's fine.
Yeah, I like to sleep in too.
He's gonna
Yeah,
get
you
the
know.
kids out.
Yeah.
We'll shoot for like 10 to 2.
Some of us work till 3 a.m. though. That's the problem. So
Is 9 too early?
it's doable, but you're bringing coffee.
Okay, 10, we'll try for like 10 to 2.
That'd be great.
That way you'd be out at 3. We'll see. Yes, ma'am.
Are we doing open discussion here now? This is-
Technically, yes, that's
Yes,
what,
it's all open discussion.
I just want to add, to mention that, I thought his presentation, Mr. Benigni's presentation was very good. I had a lot of concerns, and when I read over the presentation again today, I had the same concerns, and, my concern was that he proposed that the senior center would be separate from the community center. So discussing that today down at the senior center, I just don't want to set this project up to fail, because I know that that's not what we started. That's not what they want. They don't want to go to swim in the pool and then have to get their clothes on to go to the next building. I just have those concerns, and I just feel like I should bring that to the forefront, because I have discussed it with them. I discussed our meeting last week with them, and I know how they feel. And I mean, I just don't want to set this project up to fail. And if they feel that this is not what they want and what the convenience of it and everything, then how will they vote in the referendum? And it's important to me because that's a big voting block. And we want to be able to have this be a community facility. And I think it's very important that we discuss that, or that I bring that up, bring their thoughts to all of you.
Thank you, Barbara. Anybody else? I just have a couple of things, and Dave had a handout of it said the Greater Hartford operating budget or operating revenue and expenses. It's from Putnam, Mike. Was that just Putnam's, or was it the whole Greater Hartford? It's only, a couple $1 million. So I was just, it said Greater Hartford, but
That was just fun.
it was just
Oh,
Putnam.
it's just Putnam. They fall under the Greater Hartford umbrella. So I think that technically that's what their name is, but it
Yeah.
was just the Putnam operating.
Okay, and they have financially, they look like they're in trouble, right, based on that. And I don't know if you guys talked to them about it, but their 2022 budget has revenue of $1.7 million, expenses of 2.2. which is a loss of 530 plus debt service on the building, fairly new, right? Of 230, so they have a loss of 765,000. And I just don't know, like, how are they gonna cover that loss?
I remember, if I remember correctly, and Tim, you can back me up on this too, if you remember other things they said. I do know that they had said that they do fairly well with fundraising within the community. I don't know if it's on the order of 765K, but I do know they also say that because they belong to the whole chain of YMCAs, they had mentioned something of the fact that the national YMCA branch also helps out with funds if they need it. I don't know if that means.
They do revenue sharing, so that's.
Oh, yeah. So there you go. So maybe they
And
bounce
they
the books
also,
that way.
she also had just mentioned too, that they had just received a large donation, I think it was to the tune of $90,000
Correct.
individual.
So, see, now
It
John
doesn't
Benigni.
show on that.
So they get revenue sharing from the national, because John Benigni said national doesn't contribute. They provide services, like for
I think
buildings
they're
and
part
things
of
like.
Greater Hartford.
Yeah, revenue sharing from Greater Hartford.
Hartford.
not
Oh, from
national.
Greater Hartford.
Yeah,
Kinda
that's
like
my
revenue
bad then.
sharing
I
between
misunderstood that
Meriden.
then.
They got hit really hard with COVID.
Yeah.
Similar to revenue sharing between Meriden and.
Yeah,
New
so
Britain.
you would think that would be in their revenue, right? I mean, they have all kinds of like government, special events, their fundraising, that's included. Anyway, I just look at it. 19, they made 31,000. 2020, they lost 571.
That's
In
the first year of
2022,
COVID,
they're
yeah.
losing 765, right? I
Yeah,
know
that-
they've been open for a few years, but their membership, realizing it's COVID related, I don't know how they get back up on their membership, which was 1 million more than what it is in 2022, but I
Well,
didn't know.
their
if you guys-
membership is 7,000 people. It's a huge facility. So it has a lot of overhead, and I think we should learn a lesson from that, because it's 30,000 square feet smaller than what we're looking to build. And they have 8,000 members that are losing that kind of money.
That's 8,000 members, because,
Yeah, they would, they say like
8,000.
between 7,000 and 8,000 was what they normally ranged.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there, and they draw from not only the Putnam community, but they said downriver they've got people
11
coming in,
towns They're drawing from.
yeah.
right, and some people from out of state too. They'll have to get somewhere around
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
And
All the way from Brewster, Mass, they're pulling people.
yeah, their facility is 46,000 square feet.
Right.
Correct.
Versus
So-
70 that for our town.
Mike and I discussed that, there, that's a huge facility, and it was with a lot of members, and it's still losing a lot of money. So there's something. to
Well,
keep in mind.
like their membership in the beginning was $2 million.
Yeah,
Right.
And now it's down, though. I don't, it's just 8,000 people.
they had dropped, they had a considerable drop off, but she said this year their membership had been coming back.
Yes,
It's
she
just-
did remark that they were showing signs of coming back, but they
All
were
right.
hopeful to get as I think as much as 3/4 back this year, but she said it was gonna be a struggle.
Yeah, and like I said, if you go to Meriden and New Britain, basically break even right now for them. So obviously they're doing better.
Well, that's their job anyway, so nonprofit.
Well, nonprofits, a lot of them make money,
Yeah.
and what they do is they put
They
aside
move
for
into other
endowments and
stuff,
things. I mean,
yeah.
that's what you want to do, so.
Right.
Okay, and then, what was the other thing? Get that annualized. I will say that, I don't know if anybody had a chance to take a look at John Benigni's answers to the questions that we gave them. Most of them weren't answered. They were to be determined. I was disappointed, quite frankly, and realizing, obviously, I wouldn't have expected him to have every bit of detail, but we asked pretty general things. And it just, in my mind, and you'll see it on the follow-up question to John, is if they know that Berlin is a good area for a Y, his answer on they could sustain a Y break even, even though there's Ys all around us and all that kind of stuff. They said, no, Berlin, we think could do it based on a feasibility study 6 or 7 years ago. Okay, so why haven't they moved ahead? And I asked him that verbally after our meeting. And I said, so why didn't you move ahead then? And why haven't you built it if it's such a good thing to do? And he said, money. I said, well, what's the difference now? It's only worse, really, if you think about it, right? So that's, I think, I would just like to hear more on that. And again, just so that we don't want the town to go into a project, let's say Y, and then have it fall apart because they can't raise the funds, or they need some supplement from the town, whether it be a loan or whatever, but then the town is at, risk somehow. So I'm just interested in that end of it, and I would have appreciated more answers than just to be determined. The only thing that I did see is that there's summer camp that they run at Willard School, which I live near, which is packed. They must do a fabulous job. There's cars packed at Willard School in the summertime. And what he did answer is, in our questions, is we might, if we build a Y, we might move that summer camp to the Y. They might, not that they will, but they might. So that would be of interest to me as a user of the Y, because, or as a senior, if the seniors are going to use the Y for some part of it, because honestly, they have a very big summer camp program at Willard, so I don't know how they could fit it all in. That being said, that's part of having a Y. And, summer camps are a big piece of it, and they do make money at it. So those are my concerns of, John. I think John did a good presentation. I think he was forthright in answering the questions. He can't, statement in need, they didn't answer, which they should have, but they didn't. But he did say, we can't do everything the senior center does. We will need a senior center to continue in the town. So I think he was forthright. Okay, anything else? That's it? Okay. All right, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we've given Jen our availability, and then we'll hear more about our next meeting. Okay, thank you very much.